Golf once prided itself on whisper-quiet greens and handshakes sealed in tweed and tradition. That image is gone. In its place stands a league fueled by noise, billions, and rebellion. Phil Mickelson, Patrick Reed, Bryson DeChambeau, Sergio García, Ian Poulter, and Dustin Johnson didn't merely join a new circuit, they rewrote the code of an entire sport. The Saudi-backed LIV Golf Tour didn't divide golf, it detonated it. And inside that blast are the 6 men who struck the match. June 2022 was supposed to be another quiet summer of majors. Instead, the game's tectonic plates shifted. LIV Golf launched with a bankroll of $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's public investment fund and a mission statement that sounded like Silicon Valley: innovate or die. Favor events. No cuts. Team play. Guaranteed money. Players long beholden to the PGA Tour's grind suddenly had a choice: security or loyalty. Phil Mickelson had always been golf's gambler in more ways than one. 6 majors, 45 tour wins, and an audience that adored his grin as much as his short game. But age and controversy had cornered him. In February 2022, he torched every bridge behind him, calling the PGA Tour obnoxiously greedy and accusing it of hoarding broadcast rights and burying financials. Then came the line that made headlines worldwide. He was dealing with the Saudis despite knowing about their horrible human rights record. The reaction was instant. Sponsors fled: KPMG, Callaway, Amstel Light, Workday, wiping roughly $40 million from his yearly income. The PGA Tour went silent. For months, Phil vanished. Then he resurfaced with a $200 million LIV contract, the largest single deal in golf history. The exile had become the prophet. At his first LIV press conference in London, he wore shades, defiant. "It's a fresh start," he said, "golf reimagined." But to millions, it looked like betrayal wrapped in charisma. By 2025, Mickelson had morphed from fan favorite to lightning rod. His October post on X, formerly Twitter, claiming PGA fans are more stressed than LIV fans, reignited the civil war. Sponsors cringed, analysts piled on, and golf, social media exploded. Phil didn't delete it. He never does. For him, outrage is oxygen. If Mickelson was LIV's philosopher, Patrick Reed became its street fighter. The man, once nicknamed Captain America for his Ryder Cup heroics, had a resume laced with conflict. Accusations of cheating, family estrangement, locker room feuds. LIV wasn't a fresh start. It was the perfect arena. By 2023, he'd already filed multiple defamation suits against journalists. By 2025, he was suing Twitter users for memes. Yet he kept winning his LIV Dallas victory, netted $4 million, his first since leaving the PGA. On the 18th green, he stared down the booing crowd and said, "They're still stuck," in 2019. A month later came a rare crack in the armor. In an emotional interview, Reed described his children being bullied as cheaters' kids. The clip went viral. Sympathy flickered, then vanished under ridicule. Online comments read, "Play cleaner. Cry less." For Reed, the hate was fuel. He told reporters, "People love villains. I'm fine giving them one." Where Reed fought emotion with fire, Bryson fought physics with physics. The 2020 US Open champion was golf's ultimate experiment. 1-length irons, 200 miles per hour, swing speed, muscle builder physique, and a YouTube lab of loyal followers. His $125 million LIV deal in 2022 made him the poster child for a digital generation. Every round was a broadcast. Every mistake, content. When he shanked a wedge at LIV Nashville 2025, fans remixed it into a TikTok dance. Bryson reposted it. "Every miss is data," he laughed. Critics called him arrogant. He called it science. His YouTube channel passed 1.8 million subscribers, generating more monthly income than most PGA Tour winners earned all season. Sergio García brought the emotion. Ian Poulter brought the theater. Dustin Johnson brought the silence that said more than words. Sergio's defection cut deepest in Europe. The 2017 Masters champion had been the heartbeat of the Ryder Cup. His fiery charisma turned matches into theater. But after joining LIV, he was excluded from the 2025 team. When captain Luke Donald left him off the roster, Sergio withdrew from the Irish Open entirely, a protest disguised as rest. Poulter, the flamboyant Brit with the spiked hair and tartan pants, became LIV's social media soldier. "Golf's lost its soul. Thank God for LIV," he tweeted in 2025. Even teammates cringed. Replies were brutal. "You sold yours." Poulter didn't flinch. He retweeted the insults with laughing emojis. And then there was Dustin Johnson, the quietest rebel. His $150 million contract spoke for him. No manifesto, no rage, just a shrug. "I made the decision that's best for my family," he said, calm as always. Within 2 years, he fell from World No. 1 to outside the top 50. The majors no longer called. When asked if he missed them, he smirked, "They'll miss me more." By the end of 2025, LIV Golf was no longer a curiosity. It was a competitor. 24 events across 5 continents, purses of $25 million per week, streaming audiences topping 6 million viewers. Traditionalists saw betrayal. New fans saw evolution. For better or worse, golf had found its drama again, and these 6 men were its protagonists. The PGA Tour's business model had been clear for decades. Earn your spot, make your cut, cash your check. LIV shattered that with guaranteed money. Phil Mickelson's $200 million deal alone equaled the combined lifetime earnings of the top 20 PGA pros not named Tiger Woods. Dustin Johnson secured $150 million and set in the $1 million. Bryson DeChambeau, $125 million. Brooks Koepka, $100 million. Even mid-tier recruits like Tal or Gooch landed multi-million guarantees. That kind of money redefined leverage. For the first time, the PGA Tour had to fight to keep its stars. Commissioner Jay Monahan suspended every LIV participant indefinitely, world ranking points were denied, Ryder Cup eligibility vanished overnight, Sergio García, Ian Poulter, Patrick Reed all banned from Team Europe, Henrik Stenson stripped of his captaincy, Tiger Woods rejected a $700 million offer. Rory McIlroy became the moral voice of the establishment, calling LIV a betrayal of everything professional golf stands for. Sponsors lined up behind him. The PGA introduced elevated events with $20 million purses just to compete. Still, LIV's disruption forced evolution. Minimum pay guarantees, player equity programs, shorter fall seasons concepts, born from LIV's rebellion began entering the PGA rulebook. The fractures weren't only corporate. Friendships splintered. Justin Thomas stopped speaking publicly about Mickelson. European teammates unfollowed Poulter and Garcia. Clubhouses became minefields. Mickelson's once sterling image dimmed under whispers of gambling debts rumored near $40 million. Reed became a legal headline factory. Garcia battled depression rumors after his Ryder Cup snub. Meanwhile, fans were forced to choose: attend LIV and risk being labeled political, stay with the PGA and be called old-fashioned. The sports culture war went global. At LIV events, DJs replaced hushed scoreboard. Fans drank, cheered, and waved team flags. Golf but louder wasn't a slogan, it was policy. Traditionalists cringed. Yet attendance soared among viewers aged 1834, a demographic the PGA had struggled to reach for years. Phil Mickelson insisted this is about growing the game globally. Rory McIlroy countered, no, it's about growing bank accounts. The divide wasn't just philosophical, it was generational. For the LIV6, the stakes extended far beyond trophies. Mickelson's legacy as one of golf's greats now carried an asterisk. Reed's wins came with booze. Bryson's experiments became memes. Sergio's emotions turned to exile. Poulter's charisma became caricature. Johnson's calm became indifferent. And yet, their relevance remained undeniable. Every quote, every tweet, every shot drew headlines. Because in 2025, attention is currency. Every revolution starts long before the first banner is raised. The PGA Tour's control over broadcast rights, sponsorship approvals, and scheduling had frustrated players for years. Behind closed doors, stars whispered about an alternative. And Greg Norman had tried to launch a world tour in 1994, only to be shut down by the same organization now fighting LIV. 3 decades later, Norman was back, this time with Saudi funding deep enough to finish the job. Phil Mickelson's feud with the tour dated to 2014, when he publicly criticized the way it withheld digital rights revenue from players. He believed golfers were independent contractors in name only. LIV's promise of equity and guaranteed pay didn't just tempt him, it validated his long-standing argument that players deserved ownership in the product they built. Patrick Reed's storyline was pure combustion. The son of a military father, Reed grew up on confrontation. Expelled from the University of Georgia for disciplinary issues, he rebuilt his career through grit and resentment. At the 2018 Ryder Cup, his complaints about pairings and teammates became tabloid fodder. By the time LIV appeared, he was already the villain. Joining the breakaway tour was simply stepping into a role he'd rehearsed for years. Bryson DeChambeau, meanwhile, represented golf's uneasy relationship with science. His one-length iron philosophy and muscle science training drew both ridicule and fascination. Traditionalists mocked him. Younger fans idolized him. When LIV promised creative freedom, fewer corporate restrictions, personal branding rights, it sounded tailor-made for an athlete who measured everything, including oxygen uptake, in pursuit of perfection. For Europe, the betrayals hurt deeper. Sergio Garcia had been the continent's heartbeat since the early 2000s, fiery, emotional, unfiltered. His tears at the 2017 Masters were the emotional climax of a 20-year journey. But by 2022, the same fire turned to frustration. When European Tour officials fined LIV defectors, Garcia snapped, telling reporters, "I can't wait to leave this tour." That single line ended 2 decades of goodwill. Ian Poulter's departure carried symbolic weight. The man whose fist pumps had rescued Europe in 2012 was now a self-branded entrepreneur, tired of being told what clothes to wear and which sponsor logos to display. He viewed LIV as creative liberation. Critics saw vanity. "I've earned the right to choose my path," he said. To purists, that sounded like selling the jersey. Henrik Stenson's fall was tragic. Appointed Ryder Cup captain for 2023, he accepted LIV's millions, knowing he'd lose the honor. When Europe stripped him of the captaincy, even supporters winced. The Iceman had melted for money. Dustin Johnson's defection felt different. There was no manifesto, no grievance. It was the calmest rebellion imaginable. Johnson had already won 24 PGA titles and 2 majors. For a man allergic to drama, $150 million and fewer tournaments were reason enough. "Less travel, more family," he said. The simplicity angered people more than defiance might have. These cracks widened because the tour refused to see the storm coming. For years, player meetings raised concerns over scheduling, pensions, and transparency. Monahan's office believed loyalty was permanent. LIV proved it was rented. By late 2022, golf wasn't competing over trophies anymore. It was competing over ideology. Was the sport a meritocracy or an entertainment business? And who owned the game, the institution or the players who built it? LIV Golf exposed truths that professional golf had avoided for decades. For Mickelson, the motivation was control. Years of financial chaos, reports of gambling losses topping $40 million between 2010 and 2014 had left him desperate to rewrite his narrative. LIV's guaranteed money wasn't greed, it was insurance. His critics called it hypocrisy. He called it freedom. "I finally own my time," he said in 2023. For Reed, it was validation. His reputation in PGA locker rooms had long been radioactive. LIV offered something he hadn't felt since college acceptance. On a tour without cuts, his aggressive style could shine without risk of embarrassment. The cheers might be smaller, but at least they were his. Bryson's truth was evolution. LIV gave him permission to merge sport and content. His live streams from practice sessions drew hundreds of thousands of viewers. "If people learn physics through my swing, that's progress," he said. In an era where athletes are brands, DeChambeau became golf's prototype influencer athlete, earning more from social platforms than many tour purses combined. Freedom, however, came with invisible chains. LIV's contracts required appearances at promotional events and limited outside competition. When players complained about fewer world ranking points, the irony was hard to miss. They had traded independence for exclusivity. Stenson's relegation in 2025, after a run of poor form, proved even rebellion had rules. LIV's meritocracy was ruthless. Nostalgia held no currency. Sergio Garcia's deeper struggle was identity. His emotional volatility once made him beloved, now it made him expendable. Excluded from the 2025 Ryder Cup, he confided, "I gave my soul to that team. They erased me with one email." In Spain, fans still adored him. In Britain, tabloids labeled him the ghost of Augusta. Ian Poulter's crusade became existential. At 49, with fading results, he leaned on social media for relevance. His July 2025 tweet, "Golf's lost its soul. Thank God for LIV," backfired instantly. Replies mocked him. Sponsors distanced themselves. Yet he refused to delete it. To him, stubbornness equaled authenticity. Dustin Johnson's silence carried its own weight. Sources inside LIV said he'd quietly lobbied for world ranking recognition, frustrated that his wins didn't count. When asked about it, he simply said, "I still play golf for a living. That's enough." His poker face professionalism had turned into a kind of numb detachment, the cost of wealth without legacy. Money had never been so public. Average LIV prize purse, $25 million. Average PGA Tour event, $8.5 million. Winner share at LIV, $4 million, nearly triple the Masters runner-up check. Bryson's YouTube empire, 1.8 million subscribers, estimated $2 million per year in revenue. Mickelson's total career earnings, including LIV, now exceeding $900 million, and yet none of them could earn a single world ranking point. Golf had become a mirror for modern sports economics, attention as currency, controversy as marketing. By 2024, LIV Golf was no longer an experiment, it was leverage. The PGA Tour, facing talent drain, created designated events with $20 million purses. It offered equity stakes to top players and restructured its fall schedule. LIV's rebellion had forced reform. Viewership told the rest of the story. Broadcasts on YouTube and the CW averaged 6 million viewers. a 40% rise year over year. Average attendee age dropped below 40 for the first time in golf history. Team names like Crushers GC and Fireballs GC became cult brands, selling merchandise that outsold some PGA logos. Younger audiences loved the noise walk-up music, short formats, interaction. To them, golf had finally joined the 21st century. To purists, it was sacrilege. Golf is supposed to whisper, wrote one columnist. LIV screams. LIV's international expansion was staggering. Adelaide, Singapore, Jeddah, Miami, Hong Kong. Crowds sang. Pyrotechnics followed putts. Golf had never looked less like itself and never drawn more cameras. Even critics admitted, for the first time, golf trended. Behind the scenes, the PGA's leadership had little choice but to talk. In mid-2025, reports of a proposed commercial merger surfaced, a joint venture combining LIV, PGA, and DP World Tour under one investment umbrella. The same institution that had banned players now considered partnership. The rebellion had become too profitable to ignore. Phil Mickelson's season embodied contradiction. Top 10 finishes in Hong Kong and Miami proved he could still compete at 55. His charisma at fan events kept crowds engaged even when scores didn't. Patrick Reed's hole-in-one in Adelaide became the year's most watched golf clip on TikTok. Bryson DeChambeau's analytics app drew venture capital offers, but others faded. Henrik Stenson's relegation confirmed LIV's harsh efficiency. Poulter's Fireballs GC sat near the bottom of standings. Johnson drifted in quiet comfort, his legacy dissolving in the glow of luxury yachts and private jets. And yet, in its chaos, LIV achieved something profound. Golf was global again. Attendance in Asia and the Middle East skyrocketed. The US, GA, and R&A began reevaluating world ranking systems. Even the majors couldn't ignore LIV's gravitational pull. Beyond scorecards, LIV changed the conversation. Athletes in other sports cited it as a model for ownership and guaranteed pay. Tennis pros discussed team formats. Formula One studied its social media strategy. In boardrooms, executives realized golf, once a ratings liability, had become a viral asset. But controversy lingered. Critics saw sports washing, a geopolitical play masquerading as entertainment. Supporters saw democratization, breaking the PGA's monopoly. Both were right in part. The truth was messier. LIV proved that in modern sport, morality and money coexist uneasily, and both drive clicks. From Mickelson's defiance to Reed's fury, DeChambeau's science to Garcia's heartbreak, Poulter's noise to Johnson's silence, LIV Golf's most polarizing figures didn't just join a tour, they built an identity. Together, they forced a sport of etiquette into confrontation with the real world. For traditionalists, they're mercenaries who sold heritage for headlines. For modernists, they're architects of progress who exposed golf's complacency. The truth lies in the collision of both views. LIV didn't destroy golf's soul, it revealed its cracks. It proved that legacy is fragile when challenged by innovation, that silence may preserve dignity, but noise drives evolution. The statistics tell a story no opinion can silence. Viewership up 40%, average purse tripled, attendance younger by a decade, and global participation at its highest in history. But reputations? They remain complicated. Mickelson's smile now carries scars. Reed's trophies come with booze. Bryson's genius doubles as spectacle. Sergio's tears fall on divided ground. Poulter fights fading light with volume, and Dustin Johnson, the quiet rebel, drifts somewhere between legend and ghost. Golf has entered an age where controversy fuels curiosity, rivalry sells tickets, and perfection has been replaced by personality. The fairways are louder, the stakes higher, and the silence gone for good. Whether fans cheer or jeer, they're watching. Which means, for LIV Golf, the mission is already complete. Because in 2025, controversy isn't killing golf, it's keeping it alive.